r/AskReddit. Siblings of narcissists, psychopaths or sociopaths, what's your experience? When I was 10, my mom put a lock on my door because my brother started threatening to kill me and my mom in the night. When I was 14, he fixated on my mom and threatened to burn down our house, shoot my whole family, and steal all the valuables and drive away. That same year, he was 17. He took our car and ran away from home for 2 weeks. We ended up calling the police on him. When he came home, the police decided that it would be best if he lived somewhere else, so he did. As we were cleaning out his room, we found hundreds of knives, a handgun, lighter fluid, gasoline and lighters. They're insane and always mad about something petty. Somehow everything is related to their projected social image, regardless of context or content. Older brother. Highly narcissistic, same with my mother. Verbally cruel and manipulative and always project blame onto others, never acknowledging their own behavior. I do not speak with either over them. My brother for over 5 years and my mother for over a year. You feel your life isn't your own. Everything will revolve around them. Constantly causing drama and trouble. Sister who would steal from you. Never ending drama. Tried to steal my boyfriend repeatedly. Actually broke into one sister's house and robbed her. Can't tell the truth ever. Disowned her about 10 years ago after her awful treatment of terminally ill mother. Peace since then. Growing up, she had total control of my life. She criticized what I wore, listened to, ate, everything. If I was different, I was weird. If I liked what she liked, then I was copying her. She tried to scare me multiple times with guns and knives, claiming she never would actually hurt me, but she would hold up a samurai sword to my throat and tell me if I moved I died. Eventually she had that kid when she was 19 and I was 16. And for a year she was a good mother and then decided she didn't want to be a mom anymore. I've seen her ruin countless people's lives, spanning from just stringing them along to drowning their bank accounts to contributing to them being put in jail for domestic abuse. She's still waiting for trial on her charge. I despise her and she is not family to me. I had so many issues growing up that only stemmed from things she did to me, and I don't want to see my niece grow up like that. My parents are doing a wonderful job of raising her, but she doesn't understand why mommy isn't there and it breaks my heart. There are probably some narcissists commenting under this post pretending to be the sibling. Brother was doted on as a child because he was gifted at basketball. Literally had no consequences growing up and could do whatever he wanted. Treated me and our parents like absolute crap and they still doted on him. While I would get the belt for the most benign and asinine stuff, my brother's life is absolute crap right now. He has no sense of self-worth and just gets handouts from my parents. He is in his late 30s and my parents are giving him money for rent and food. He wants everyone to feel sorry for him and expects everything to be handed to him. He can't do anything on his own and guilt trips and manipulates my parents into doing whatever it is he needs doing for him or just giving him extra funds. He has no incentive to change and is content playing video games all day while my parents just enable his lifestyle. At holidays he just talks down to me and tries to make me feel bad about how difficult his life is. I could care less about him and have no desire to talk to him until he makes some serious changes in his lifestyle and life choices. My sister has dialed down her act a bit. After we have all spent a few years out of our aging NPD arsehole father's house, I mostly remember a massive sense of entitlement that simply made no logical sense and would require a great deal of cognitive dissonance to explain. Like, she would never loan me things, CDs, EXE, but had no problem walking straight into my room, in front of my face, to take a bottle of body lotion to use on herself. She seemed to have no remorse for what her behavior did to others, so long as she got what she wanted out of the deal. Sometimes, she would just do and say mean and spiteful things for no reason. I talk to her from time to time. While is less of a self-involved sociopath, she still is insufferably self-righteous. It's always difficult to share my problems with them because they also had that same problem at some stage of their life and it was much harder for them than that is for me apparently. Mom. Narcissist dad. Alcoholic. Possible narc. Self-centered coward. Brother. Golden child me. Family scapegoat. Still working through the BS and healing at age 57. It can be done. He never got a diagnosis. But he's good at deceiving. He always just tried to get all the attention. Cried to get me punished. So he could spend more time playing with my PlayStation. I saved my money for myself. I ended up being the black sheep. My mom constantly threatening to call Child Protective Services. If I wouldn't have been so unknowing, I would have preferred that. He was always sick and he was always the victim. So much that they ended up forgetting me at home. When they went to my grandparents and didn't realize it. Until they heard me crying. Alone at night behind a couch. There is a lot of fucked up stuff I'm not including. But it wasn't just emotional terror. He willfully abused the whole relationship to my family. So we started to estrange one another. I confronted him a lot. So years later he's on a different route and tries to be himself. Rather than a victim. I still don't want to be around anyone here. It burns on my skin to even get near. But it's not as bad as being in the situation and having to deal with it. I was playing with a suitcase while watching TV. I was small enough to fit myself in it. My brother, nearly 4.5 years older than me, saw what I was doing and asked to zip me up in it. After already having learned to never trust him. I asked mom to watch us to make sure he didn't do anything stupid. He zipped me up inside the suitcase and started carrying it in a shuffle step. Thump. 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 I heard the sliding door to the enclosed patio open. Mom started screaming and I could hear her slapping my brother repeatedly. The suitcase fell over onto its side with me still in it. I managed to pry open the zippers from the inside and got myself out of the suitcase as quickly as possible. Mom was still slapping at my brother. Screaming why. I was 2 feet away from being dumped inside a suitcase into the family hot tub. He laughed and said that I would have floated. What's the big deal? So, yeah. That's what it was like growing up with a sociopath. I'm not even totally sure of my older brother's diagnosis, but several years ago I found out through his journal that he had an elaborate plan to murder me and had apparently attempted to before. But couldn't go through with it. His reasoning was mostly because I was mean to him as a child. But really he was the one cruel to me? The part that really fucks me up is that both my parents knew about his wish to kill me and never said anything to me. Let us sleep under the same roof. They always coddled and treated him differently than me. He is severely mentally ill. Likely a psychopath. Has been in a mental hospital now for several years. I cut contact with my parents as soon as I moved out. My sibling is not a sociopath or psychopath. But is narcissistic with extreme anger issues. He would intentionally start arguments. Slightest response from me would be his excuse to go mental. Worst was once when he choked me after I tried to defend myself. Only stopped because I threatened to call the cops. Later my dad sided with him saying I shouldn't have made my brother angry. And that if I did call the cops, they'd laugh at me and would do nothing. That's idiotic. Obviously. Bear in mind my brother was 6'1" and athletic. While I was a skinny 5'4" teenager that was 5 years younger. I'm now an adult and in the military. And don't plan on talking to either of them much after I leave. Needless to say, if he ever tries something like that again, he'll be lucky if he isn't hospitalized. Count on it. Oh god, where do I begin? She fed my hamster to our cat because I wouldn't let her name it. She woke me up when I was sleeping in my mom's bed by punching me and then proceeded to break my index finger with the door when I fought back. Just because she wants to sleep there that night. She also poured bleach over my clothes cause she was mad that I was doing laundry when she needed to. Honestly, there's a whole lot more, but those are some of the major stuff. My dad is a sociopath. He raised me. It's very difficult having basic friendships, relationships, holding a job. The way I was raised is extremely unconventional, leading me to not react to normal situations as a typical person would. Not a blood sibling, but my cousin I grew up in the same house with. We considered each other brother and sister. He committed suicide in 2016. And it wasn't until then I realized how fucked up he was. He was abusive to the family pets, throwing them across the room. constantly said how he's going to end up in prison for killing someone. And made comments about how rape isn't rape if the woman isn't screaming and fighting back. When I was 6 to 9 he'd throw me into doors and tackle me to the ground, choking me. Memories of that are far and few due to the gaslighting from the rest of my family. Not a sibling. A cousin. When I was 8 and my cousin was 7 I noticed my dog, Pug, missing one day. I only noticed after everything that she wasn't there that morning. I was going to ask my best friend to go play hide and seek with me. In my hiding spot I could hear my dog whimpering, and as I looked for my dog, I found her with all of her teeth ripped out and scissors in her right eye. After minor surgery she is fine, and not to say I'm happy about it, she looks hella cute even with a stitched eye. I don't know what happened to my cousin, but him and his parents were taken out of our lives forever. IDK if this counts, but my 6-year-old brother, he was 6 when this happened, once asked my mom if he could have some of her fries. She said yes and asked why. He replied with so I can kill seagulls. She asked why. And he replied with so I can bake them and then kill them with rocks. My mom also asked why he would do that. And he answered because I don't play enough Fortnite. Another time my friend accidentally stepped on my dog's paw and was like, "Oh god, I'm so sorry," and etc. Then my brother from the other room yelled, "I wish I could break the dog's paw." He's done other things like talk about how he wouldn't miss me if I died and such. I've also had dreams about him killing everyone I know, like family, pets and friends. My sister, who is 8 years older than me, chased 6-year-old me around the house with a knife so I would leave her alone. Because she was babysitting while my parents were on a date. And I needed food. My narcissistic brother is almost 10 years older than I. So I don't remember a lot of the things he did. I know the stories, though. He left home at 16. We did have a relationship as adults. But I cut it off realizing that he hadn't changed. He's stolen from my family members. Is a pathological liar. And a con man to say the least. We call him Con Man Don. He has even lied to his children about having cancer. He is a piece of work. He has never ever acknowledged anything he's done. In fact, he acts like none of it ever happened. As of now, we do not talk. I am close to his children. I get joy out of family events my brother actually attends because I make him super uncomfortable. I also have an older sister who has gaslighted me my entire life. I didn't realize it till adulthood when people would point out her behavior to me and question it. She's narcissistic in many ways too. Never sees the error of her own ways. I can be around her, but I have to keep it limited. I finally learned to have boundaries. Every only child should read comments like these before deciding they got the short end of the stick in life by not having a sibling, a live-in childhood friend. It doesn't always work out that way. Hopefully most sibling relationships are healthy and happy throughout life. But some of them are a lifetime commitment of frustration and misery about which you can do very little. My daughter was hit by a drunk driver when she was 12 and nearly died. She was in a coma for 2 weeks and I was there all day every day. Except to go home to shower and change. My sister decided that when I was at the hospital was the perfect time for her and her druggy girlfriend to jimmy the sliding door off the track. Break in and steal everything she could find. Jewelry. My camera. And yes, my daughter's piggy bank. The bitch stole the piggy bank from a comatose kid. My sister is way too into herself. She has no real friends but she has like 60,000 Instagram followers. She literally just spends her money on new clothes and the newest iPhone to take selfies. And when I say she has no real friends I really mean it. She never leaves the house. Never had a job. Dropped out of high school. But she thinks she's the greatest thing God graced this planet with. I don't really talk to her because anytime I try she's just taking pictures of herself with different outfits. It's really annoying. I don't know why my parents condone finance this lifestyle. She gets it from my mom. She's kind of the same way. This was a few years ago, but my sister-in-law, who is a lawyer and who is very well off, has told me in casual conversation that she strangles her kids sometimes. That I needn't be worried because her kids know that she loves them. I worry now for her husband, who I consider to be a very close friend. He very suddenly has changed his mind about his religious views and become a flat earther. I don't know how to approach this situation because it is my wife's family, so I just try to be as supportive to my wife when she is hurting for their situation. She loves them so much. I'm not old enough to block him out of my life. He is abusive and autistic and has orderly known as Asperger's. He shows every warning sign only on a sociopath. And he threatens to kill me every day. I have a sibling who used information from subs like RedditJar, narcissists and other narcissistic mother blogs and websites to isolate and convince myself and each of my other siblings that our parent was an abusive narcissist. They were much older and were able to start on each sibling around the age of 17. Eventually each sibling came to the realization of what they were doing and we cut them out. But we all suffered pretty seriously at their hands in a lot of ways. Also, this sibling had left a book at one of our places while storing stuff. In the book at the top of each page was the name of a person in their life, family, friends, co-workers, landlord, neighbors, etc. and a list of the things they could be used for to benefit my sibling. The things they like and dislike, and methods to use and manipulate the person best. I am terrified of this person, especially since they work in law enforcement, have access to firearms, and abuse all sorts of amphetamines and other drugs daily. It's exhausting just thinking about it. I don't want to go into everything about my sister right now, but I'll say this. She used to have a nickname for me. It was Slave. She thought it was so funny. Had people think it was just a joke. It was not. She treated me like a slave and I was so deep in the fog that I didn't know I could fight back. It was always easier to just do what she wanted because the abuse was too much to deal with. I suppressed my feelings to the point where I thought that smiling meant I was happy. I felt empty. I wasn't allowed to frown. Anything less than a smile meant that I was ruining everyone else's day. I was only allowed to smile. So my mom didn't notice I wasn't happy because I acted like I was. I tried to end myself at 16 and my sister turned it into a joke. She still laughs about it. Happy ending to this is that I'm married and don't take her shit anymore. I won't let anyone treat me like that again. I know what happiness feels like and I know what I'm worth. Still working through the fog though. My grandma on my dad's side is a horrible person. She stalks my family on social media because she wanted to get in contact with my dad and she would send him letters going all boo-hoo, I want you back, I miss you. Well hun, last time I checked this is your 7th marriage and every time you contact him you beg for money, and when he died you called my mom asking about him. Not to mention how you physically and mentally abused him and that's why he got depressed. Oh yeah, and you're friends with a person for like a day then get tired of them, so yeah. That's my grandma for you. My dad had undiagnosed mental illness. My brother, who resembled him greatly, made my life hell growing up. Well, they both did. My son is so identical to my brother. Everyone sees how much they are alike. It is uncanny, not going to lie. It had been challenging raising him and now relating to him as a young adult. I didn't realize how badly my sister treated me over the decades until she was awful to my wife. Since her cruelty went on our lives, it was just the normal course of events. The light went on when she did her bullshit on my wife. One of my older siblings killed his neighbor's cat because the cat would come into his yard. So one day he trapped the cat and put him in a sack and beat it with a bat. At the time I was 15 and idolized him, so I didn't know the severity of what he did. He's killed other animals. He took another neighbor's dog and dumped him in town 50 miles away just because the dog would bark sometimes. He's an evil, sadistic asshole. But tell that to my parents and other siblings and they defend him to the end. Haven't spoken to my sister for nearly 2 years now. She has a new child 1.5 years old I'll never meet. Still get to catch up with my niece when she's with my mother, but other than that life has been fucking excellent, not having to put up with the constant drama that spews forth from that bitch. Whoever says you can't choose family, you're wrong. Family is for who you care about. Fuck the rest. My sister has never been diagnosed with narcissism or a personality disorder other than OCD. But when we were younger she often enjoyed telling people before I met them that I had a difficult relationship with the truth so that they wouldn't want to be around me. I had the reputation of a liar and no friends for most of my preteen years. And she was popular in our homeschool group until she left and got into high school. After she left, I still didn't have friends. But neither did she. And she blamed me for it during her frequent temper tantrums. She would throw things, scream, cry, and threaten me with kitchen knives on a pretty regular basis. All of a sudden, the year that I turned 17 and she turned 21, the tantrums stopped and she got engaged. He moved in with us. The tantrums started again. And for once I wasn't the target. The worst fight they had happened when she caught him looking at a photo of a bikini model, which she considered cheating. She hit him full force with an open palm. And when our mum saw, she threatened to kick her out if she hit him again. They got married, moved out, and divorced within a year of him enlisting in the army. My experience? About 15 years of torture mentally and physically. My sister broke my mom's arm just because she was trying to get a toaster out of the cabinet. I really don't understand why that was such a big deal to her. Also, when my mom was sick, she threatened to pour hot coffee on her if she didn't get out of bed and do shit for her that she could have easily done herself. She also would hit the pets for no reason and talked about murdering strangers because she thought it would be fun. I finally got her out of here and away from us about a month or so ago, but it was long overdue, as she is currently 31 years old. There's a lot more shit, but yeah, I'm just glad she's finally gone. I still have nightmares about her. The thing is, this post is just as likely to attract narcissists and sociopaths who would love to have an anonymous forum to express their contorted versions of reality in which it's actually their sibling who is a sociopath or narcissist. My answer is going to be a bit off topic. I read a lot of stories of people dealing with narcissistic parents and siblings, and I used to think it was maybe their cultural thing or one-off incidents. But by God, now I have hearing started horror stories of people near to me with their monster-in-laws and husbands. It is so alarming that such people wield so much authority and power in their households and maybe workplaces that their toxic behavior goes unchecked, and at times it's enabled by their relatives who cannot accept criticism of the narcissist's behavior by a third-person party. God, my sister is a sociopath. She has no idea that her words and actions can hurt. She's nice enough, but when I can, if she hasn't changed, I'll probably reduce the amount of contact. She's super hard to be around, and she also thinks she's better at everything. She's not. She's a living, breathing female Sherlock without the charismatic friend or cool mind reading trick. Instead, she'll just say that you look fat in that dress, as probably is the truth, but like, you just don't say that. I didn't even ask. Not sibling, but my former best friend is a huge narcissist. He always insults people jokingly, but if you do the same towards him, he immediately gets angry and asks what your problem is. He gets violent easily, and he can't stand it when others have nice things. If someone else, that is, wears nicer sneakers than him, he'll just play it off as if they were ugly or something. He always pushes down the people around him to elevate himself, and I'm just glad I barely have contact to him anymore. He literally fucked me self-confidence in the ass for several years. I have had 3 computers destroyed in various ways, and she has committed account suicide on numerous accounts for various sites and games. Account suicide is where someone posts or does shit that gets a permanent and unappealable ban from a game or website, such as using easily detectable cheats to get someone VAC banned from a game, or posting hardcore porn or hate speech to get someone banned from a forum. Because I refused to drop what I was doing and do what my sister said, which usually involves me giving her money. Also, whenever I get interested in a group hobby like role playing, she will charm her way into the group and then make sure I get kicked out. Then she will stay in the group for a month or 2 and then lose all interest in that group and leave once she has made sure I will never be invited back. Hopefully, this Reddit account is safe since I have lost 3 others to her, since I have not saved the username or password on my computer anywhere. Current child of a narcissist. So similar experience. Few people believe me. Everyone thinks she's the nicest person they've ever met. I told one of my close friends about her, and what he told me was I never would have guessed that she was like that. I'm constantly being told my ideas are stupid, that I never do anything to help, and that nothing is ever good enough. I've had money taken me for no reason, and even more. I'm 15, and unfortunately I can't leave just yet. It's really sad, honestly. I always see other people with their older siblings hanging out and such and wish it could be like that with my sister. He tortured me emotionally, verbally, and sometimes physically until the day I turned 18. I joined the military to escape. My parents were neglectful and did not understand or believe me. And they still don't. 20 years later. When she threw a cup of hot tea at my face because I refused to show her something on the computer. Or the time when she yelled at me for over an hour because I was really sick and had thrown up all over the bathroom sink. The same bathroom she had just cleaned. I stopped speaking with her over 7 years ago. I caught my younger brother catch a mouse, kill it himself and feed it to his snake. One time when he broke his arm climbing over a fence, instead of screaming in agony he laughed crazily. It's overwhelming, everything is about them. A good example is picture you have cancer and they have a small scratch. They will talk about their scratch and expect you to listen while ignoring your issues with cancer. Nothing is ever their fault. It's always yours. My brother is schizophrenic. He has gotten a lot better with it. But I remember when I was younger he beat me with a crucifix we had in the house. We were Catholic at the time. He beat me a few times, but I'm unsure which times were due to his mental illness and which times are just because he was my older brother. My mom's histrionic. This is a form of narcissism. It was not easy. Our relation now is distant. But we do speak with each other. My dad is a narcissist. I never felt loved by him at all. I was only praised when I did what he wanted. That really fucked me up. Low self-esteem and a lot of problems with relationships. Had a lot of abusive ones. I have big abandonment issues too. Now I'll live in another city far from him and I grow up, but I still hope that someday he will realize. It breaks my heart. One part of him knows he's not right in the head. And he has these moments of clarity that seem to just cripple him with remorse and self-loathing. Then it's back to being a shitty, dishonest person who I can't trust alone with my kids. I try to listen as much as I can to whatever he needs to get off his chest. I try to help him as much as I can without getting too entangled in case he's not being honest. I try to offer perspective without disregarding his feelings. It's a tightrope. But I remember who he was when he was healthy. And I think about who he basically is. In his core. Beyond his illness. And that's the kid I care about and try to be there for. The illness is more toxic to him than it is to anyone else. I imagine it's hell to live with the feelings and thoughts he's living with. So I just try to help him feel as normal and in control of his life as I'm able to. Oh boy. My big sis kicking down door frames BC. She had something inside strangling my little sisters. Picking up knives to threaten my mom and young kids. Smashing furniture. Pouring juice in gas tanks. Breaking my brother's nose and always begging, borrowing and leeching. And somehow they always deserved it. No one is violent like that. I don't live at home, but I'm having my younger siblings document so I can build a case for them. I don't know how to deal with her. My brother fits the bill. He always made fun of me, making me feel like shit for my mental health issues, constantly mocking me. I gave up a long time ago, trying to point out that because mental health issues are genetic. And that he was my freaking twin, odds were he had the same issues, but being a bully was just a poorly disguised way of hiding them and probably had something to do with his behavior. Didn't matter. Joke's on him. Though. I don't even have a brother. Not blood related, but I've known him for nearly 10 years. He consistently complains to management wherever he is to get stuff for free. He successfully swindled a movie theater out of 6 tickets over a few pieces of burnt popcorn. It's interesting really. My mom died recently. When I called my sister to come down the day before she died, she said I thought she was going to die today. I'm not disappointed. But I can't keep missing work. The next day I called her to come to the hospital again as the doctor, and I made the decision to take her off the ventilator. On the phone she said, well, can we pull out the tube as soon as I get there because I have plans tonight. She also proceeded to ask me for rent money that day. As I also live with her. The things they say and don't realize how messed up it is really baffling. I come home to my mom crying after what my sister has said. Multiple times. This shit isn't right. I don't know exactly what's wrong, but there's a screw loose. It runs in the family. I've been spared though. My brother hated me ever since I was born cause mom would talk shit about him and talk about how awesome I was with other people in front of him. My grandma told me how when he was 13 and I was 5, he would always talk about how much he wanted to kill me. We don't talk much, but whenever I say anything he'd disagree with me. He's 27 now. Still doing it. I've mostly had to experience getting my body shamed for not being as good as them. Or trying to tell them to get over themselves. He once put a cat in a cat cage and threw it in a bush and burned the bush. Surprisingly, the cat made it with severe burns. BT had to be put down because the cat would have only been in misery. I tell people I don't have any siblings. So my brother is honestly one of the rudest people I know. To give you an example of what I mean, he steals my phone all the time, hits me with sticks and rocks when we're outside, and he's recently started crying, screaming and breaking my legs whenever I refuse to play video games with him. His behavior has started to improve, but he's still pretty annoying. Not my brother but my mother's. Killed his mother, my maternal grandmother, who protected him right up to the end. Profilers asked the other siblings if she ever treated him differently. She did. They say she knew something was wrong with him. He is a sociopath. As a child, my mom says he broke her nose, sometimes ate her dinner, and destroyed her dolls. None of my siblings. But I have a cousin who is very narcissistic. She's always been a bit of a diva and a drama queen. But really the narcissism began when she came out that she was transgender. Which everyone could already tell since she was 3 years old. When she came out, I think she was expecting a lot of attention. Either positive or negative. Just looking for some drama. But when she did not, one really cared. Told her she could be what she wanted and then went on their way. Which made her pissed. Especially at me. Since I gave the most I don't care. I think that's why she cut contact with me. Then it got worse. Because she started gatekeeping being transgender and being a woman. Holding many aggressive opinions against men. She thinks the world revolves around her. Thinks she can do whatever she wants to because she thinks everything she does is the right thing. I once heard her call herself the voice of the LGBT community. Or maybe I heard her wrong, which I'm sure, because she doesn't believe people can be bisexual. There's actually a couple subreddits. Children of narcissists and family scapegoat. I ended up estranging myself from my siblings for my own mental health. My niece. She is a sociopath. But not a violent one unless she is crossed. Her main symptoms is stealing and lying. She especially likes to steal drugs from people who really need them. Like my sisters, not her mother. Her aunt. Chemotherapy drugs. They were gel caps. My niece opened them all up. Dumped the medication. And replaced it with ground up diuretics. I don't know what niece did with the actual drug. But my sister's cancer did not go into remission with the oral chemo, obviously, so she had to do the IV kind that makes you really sick. After 8 rounds of this, and after her hair had fallen out and she was put on disability because she could no longer do the job she loved, my niece revealed that she had stolen the chemo pills as though it was a funny story. She also stole my son's baptism money around the tune of $4,000. I had invited her under pressure to attend and she stole his piggy bank, where I had been putting his cash gifts. She also stole my anti-nausea meds for morning sickness. And I had to suffer all weekend until I could call my OB. Lived an entire lifetime not being aware that it isn't normal to run to your bedroom and hide when dad gets home. That it isn't normal to be scared of your parents' reactions to, well, anything. Becoming a mom and having little kids that I just looked at and knew I could never beat them up for picking a flower. Or shame them for not knowing how to hang a shelf. Or throw grubs at them if they come outside. Or throw potato salad at them if they say they don't want any. Yeah. It wasn't normal, and only just now am I realizing all of that. Not my sibling but my grandmother. When my younger sister was a freshman in high school, she went blind. She later would be diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. She can see and is doing so much better today. Anyways. When she was still blind and in the hospital, before the doctors had diagnosed her and we were all so scared for her, there was one night when my grandmother leaned over just when the rest of my family were all distracted by something else, and whispered, "I'm really jealous of all this attention you're getting," into my sister's ear. There are so many more notorious stories of my grandmother who is nothing like the sweet grandmas in movies that bake cookies when you come over. This was the first to come to mind. When I got back right after boot camp, I asked my now ex-wife, then girlfriend, to marry me. We went straight to her parents and then to my mom. Her parents were happy, confused and worried. Guess they had a crystal ball on that one, lol. My mom, on the other hand, after her only son announced the engagement, looked away and then back and said, "You know, I'm having a medical issue. Does your insurance from the military cover me?" The only issue was that she wouldn't keep her dentures in long enough to get used to them. At the graduation, she kept bragging about how me being in the military was great for her and about all the benefits she'd get out of it. She couldn't be bothered to show up to my high school graduation, but when there was something in it for her, she could make an 8-hour trip to find out more about it. Come to find out, she's a paranoid schizophrenic with narcissistic tendencies and severe religious overtones. My sister is trans. And I can't write much, because she will find this if I do. But holy shit. Everything has to do with gender. No one is allowed to find fault with her shitty personality. If someone doesn't like her, well, clearly they must be a Trump-loving bigot. It's exhausting. Not everything is about the bigger picture. Sometimes you are just a bitch that happens to be trans. And let's be real, she was a bitch long before she came out too. She was just a quieter one without a cause trademark sign. My brother takes after his dad, my ex-stepdad, who was very abusive and definitely a narcissist. I struggle with PTSD from it and can no longer spend time at my own home when he's around. He is a master at gaslighting. He will find the littlest ways to bring you down without you even realizing it. He will never ever accept that he is wrong and will always find a way to have the last word. He is physically abusive towards my younger siblings, but no one will believe me. He's 16. I'm 18 and now living on my friends' couches. Before I turned 18, I was constantly in and out of mental hospitals because of him, so obviously no one will believe me because obviously I'm the crazy one. He has no empathy. He likes to see people in pain. He thinks it's funny. He finds it hilarious that by talking about my best friend who passed away he can make me cry. He made me cry over a bowl of soup. He makes sure that everyone sees me as the crazy one. He hurts animals too. He has killed all my pets. He poisoned my cat. He says he's practicing for when he had the chance to do it on a person. But he's smart. He won't do anything unless he knows he can get away with it. My brother's a gigolo. Does that count for this post? So, this is both about me and my sister. She is considered the most crazy one. Has next to no remorse about people. And she has attempted murder on me 3 times. And around 5 more times just threatened. And she is a really violent person in general. And she is 13 BTW. She turned it literally 4 days ago as I'm writing this. So there's that. I would myself consider her a narcissist, as she is constantly evaluating herself to be worth way more than others. In particular, me. And for myself, it is mostly that I seek profit in the things that I can. Would do most things if it is worth the money I would get for it, and gladly try manipulate people as much as I can to get what I want. Doesn't work exceedingly well though, as being a 14-year-old, turns 15 in 4 days as of writing, who is underweight, who is really good at acting suspect of things I didn't do and pissing people off, not great talents I know, doesn't make you trustworthy or in a position to make people do as you want. This is just what I'm saying. If you were looking for like diagnosed people that are diagnosed psychopaths or stuff, it is just me, she, and other people we know saying this. My older brother is very egocentric and he thinks that everything I do he can do it better. Meanwhile with my mother, she always wants to be in control with everything. I'm in an endless stress situation just because she's unstable. I almost got raped. Rock to the head. Shovel to my side. Pencil jammed in hand. Scissors back of leg. Clawed chest and threw insult. Great times. My brother and I used to be pretty close. We're 2 years apart and went through my parents' ugly separation together when we were preteens. He's grown up to be the most entitled, narcissistic guy I've ever met. The world owes him fucking everything and nothing is ever good enough. He's had the shit kicked out of him by people he owes money to. Been dropped off half dead at emergency after ODing. Been kicked out of every place he's lived because he can't pay rent. Mom and dad have had to pay off people and pay his rent countless times, and now most recently after we thought just maybe he was turning it around. He gets drunk and totals my dad's truck with 2 of his buddies in the vehicle, who get hurt pretty bad and is potentially facing jail time. Frankly, I think the best thing for him right now is to go to jail for a while. It's not like it'll hurt his job prospects any more than he already has on his own. He's burned every employment opportunity in town by just not showing up for work. I want to have nothing to do with him and his family. My parents can't cut ties with him and it breaks my heart how he treats them. Gaslighting. Physical abuse. Telling everyone that I'm the awful one. The whole flying off the handle for stupid shit is an understatement. My sister is an adult now, but still consistently assaults me whenever she gets mad. Can't wait till she leaves. The light bulb turned on when she wore a white dress to my wedding. After explicitly saying to my wife just days before that she would never do such a thing, since someone wore a white dress to her wedding. Then I confronted her, and she tried to turn my family against me. At one point, they thought I never wanted to see or speak with any of them again, which was untrue. There was a general trend of her having some catastrophe at every big family event. At Christmas, we opened the presents too quickly and didn't quite savor the moment enough. She was like a tornado, leaving a destructive path wherever she went. Then it got really bad. She got into drugs. Multiple drug charges, including having her place raided while niece and nephew were there. More drug charges. Served time. Now working a real job and more of a run-of-the-mill thunderstorm rather than a tornado. I'll take it. She has always made me do everything for her growing up. And if I didn't listen to what she said or put up any form of an argument, she would berate me, telling me that I was worthless and nobody actually loved me or ever would. Growing up being told that almost every day makes you actually start to believe it. It eventually led to self-harm, and when my mom and her found out, instead of asking what was wrong or seeing if she could help, she told me that all I ever did was fuck things up in her life. I have a lot of social problems because of her too. Not only self-esteem problems. She would always want me with her if she went out and would berate me again if I ever wanted to hang out with friends without her. Now it's hard for me to make friends because I think nobody actually likes me even if they say they do. I trust relatively no one. That's just some stuff. Narcissists are very toxic people and the list is too long to write here. Everyone always tells me siblings always fight, it's just what happens, but no. Not like this. Siblings shouldn't make you feel that worthless. I had a stepsister that, while I'm not sure she was clinically a sociopath, she kind of just lacked any sort of empathy and sympathy. She got violent a lot, and actually beat the shit out of me a lot when I was younger. I still have a large but barely noticeable scar on my forearm from when she kicked me in a counter and a knife fell out of the block and slashed into it. She was a few years older than me, and by the time I was 14, she was already involved with drugs and gangs. This was in NY, where we lived for about 5 years. I got kicked out of the house and cut contact with my parents at 17. So I'm not exactly sure how she ended up. But last I heard she was shot in a gang shootout and died on the spot at the age of 22. If I'm being honest, I felt morbid sort of satisfaction at the news. Looking back on my life before the age of 18, it can pretty much be accurately summed up as a shit show. Full-body disappointment in yourself and an all-consuming jealousy you feel when you finally experience other people's healthy family dynamics. Holidays are spent waiting for the fireworks to go off. If I stand up for myself, my sister either tries to talk me out of it or she cries and threatens, and has actually attempted suicide. After she cries, she buys me gifts in order to bring peace. I'm finally old enough to get away from her, lives with my parents. And it is awful because she gaslights my mom and is emotionally abusive, and when I'm there I do my best to protect my mom, but for now it's either get out and survive or stay and sacrifice my future. The way my parents are treated breaks my heart and I wish I could have stayed to protect them. I have no love for her, And it genuinely would have been much better for my family as a whole if she died from one of her attempts. I'm living with an sib right now. Moving out tomorrow hopefully. I moved in 4 years ago and somehow got isolated in my room for the entire time. Hardly ever leave. Lost 50 pounds or so. Hardly eat. Went mad. Body went nuts. Had a breakdown. Figured it out. Got better. Now moving out. It's horrible living with a sibling. Horrible. She offered me a car to use but always took it away soon as I put gas in it. She followed me around doing everything I did. Put my leftovers in different containers. Keeps her stuff in my closet so I can't use it. I pay half the rent. Over half. Always wanting more money, claims my computer is using more electricity than it does so she can get more money. Won't show me the food bill. She's using my food stamps card for both of us. Illegal. Etc. 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 Mocks me. Hates me. I think she was hoping I'd die in my room to get the insurance. My brother used to have extreme anger issues and put holes in our walls and abused my mom verbally and physically a bit. While this all happened, I went into my other brother's room and play Minecraft and Call of Duty. I was 8 at the time, with him. Now my brother who used to have anger issues is fine now and is amazing, but he used to be literally insane. Very simple. They don't give a shit about anyone but themselves. I haven't spoke to my brother in 3-4 years. Last time I did he went after my wife and that was the last straw for me. Since then, my parents have cut him off. He lost his job. And his life has spiraled. Not sure what he is up to now, but my quality of life has improved with him not in it. If you want to get nothing in return, you can like and join my Discord. There is a link in the description.